All right, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We hope the dog days of summer are coming along well for all of you. My name is Gary, and I am the product marketing manager here at Hillstone Networks. I am joined here today with Zhou Yan, Director of Global Sales Engineering, and Tim Liu, CTO of Hillstone Networks, to discuss all things involving micro-segmentation. From current challenges we're facing to industry trends, the 5-step implementation process, and a demo of CloudHive version 2.8, our recently updated micro-segmentation solution. Please feel free to enter any questions you may have into the Q&A chat box. We will review them at the end. We have lots of useful material to cover, so without further ado, let's get started. With more and more servers being virtualized or migrating to the infrastructure as a service model, traditional firewalls, intrusion prevention and detection services, and others, which were conventionally network-centric, no longer suffice. They are not dynamic enough to adapt to the speed at which current assets are deployed. For example, let's take a look at this diagram. Back in the day, our traditional data centers had hundreds of physical servers, hence hundreds of targets to be protected. As it stands presently, one physical server can be linked to hundreds of virtual machines, making the grand total of targets to be protected exponentially larger. As you can see, this is a huge workload to maintain. Additionally, intruders nowadays can attempt to gain a foothold within an environment using various methods, such as procuring temporary access tokens or secretly upgrading privileges by exploiting flaws in the IAM system. Upon gaining a foothold, such intruders can then move laterally within the network to steal sensitive data and information. We are worried about lateral movement, or in other words, east-west traffic, because there aren't many ways of viewing intra-VM communications. Without visibility, how can you find the threats? After all, that's why my parents never let me out of their sights when I was a kid. That's how you secure the Gary threat. Gartner has been tracking all of the recent challenges that have been introduced. In Gartner's 2020 annual hype cycle for network security, Adam Hills, Neil McDonald, and Jeremy DeHoyne broached the topic of micro-segmentation, classifying it as an early mainstream cyber tech that had a market penetration of 20 to 50% of target audience. Well, 1 year later, safe to say, micro-segmentation is no longer just early mainstream. It has moved closer and closer to the plateau of productivity and hence potential mainstream adoption. Additionally, during some of our conversations with top analysts, we've been told the #1 requested security product these days is micro-segmentation products. Now that we've discussed the challenges we are currently facing, and we've discussed the hype around popular solutions, let's discuss the Cloud Workload Protection, or CWPP for short. The image you see on the screen is CWPP, as recommended by Gartner. As you can see, with the ever-evolving cyber threats, network firewalling is no longer the only essential security strategy. The twin brothers visibility and micro-segmentation have made it as well. Huzzah! Based on the concept of ZTNA, visibility and micro-segmentation means we want to be able to monitor and control how sections of a workload are able to communicate with each other. We call them twin brothers because they can be related to each other. For example, if you do a good job of implementing micro-segmentation, you will likely possess thorough visibility. Similarly, to achieve visibility, you'll likely need to implement micro-segmentation. Speaking of implementing micro-segmentation, there are 3 ways of implementing it: through the hypervisor, through a host or agent, or through the network. That takes us to our solution, which is to have our service CloudHive installed at the vSwitch level, meaning we have a network-based architecture with programmable fabrics. A network-based architecture would be hypervisor agnostic, meaning it can adapt to any type of hypervisor you choose to use. By implementing our solution in such a manner, we are able to leverage our powerful Stone OS security engine to incorporate many of Hillstone's Layer 2 to Layer 7 features. To illustrate the flow of data and how CloudHive purifies it, we have this beautiful little diagram. In the spirit of microsegmentation, let's compare CloudHive to that one nosy sibling of yours. But in this case, being nosy is a good thing. Originally, if VM1 wished to communicate with VM2, it would simply go through the virtual switch and arrive at VM2. After CloudHive, or like I said earlier, the nosy little brother has been deployed, information will now pass through CloudHive first, specifically the VSSM. Let's take a quick detour to explain what the VSSM is without going too much into the infrastructure of CloudHive. CloudHive, upon integration, has the ability to deploy what we call the security service, the virtual security service module, or VSSM for short. These devices are policy and application-driven security modules that will implement Layer 2 to Layer 7 security based on user configuration at a higher level. Back to the picture. Now, if VM1 were to send information over to VM2, it would first go through the virtual switch, then the VSSM, and then to the VM2. The VSSM is able to sniff out any threats or abnormalities. All traffic logs can be viewed easily. CloudHive additionally supports service performance monitoring, which allows the user to view even more granular performance data on each asset. Now, let's talk about the 5-step implementation of microsegmentation. For best practices, we recommend adhering to the following 5 steps when implementing microsegmentation: asset discovery, application and service modeling, implementing protection, policy optimization, and to continue the feedback loop, we have continuous monitoring. The first 2 steps are grouped together in what we call visualization, because effectively, you'll learn what is the flow of traffic. They help prep you for later steps. In layman terms, before you walk out of this webinar and propose to someone, you should probably visualize it first. Are you sure you want to spend the rest of your life with this person? What is this person like? Look, I'm all for some YOLO on Thursday happy hours, but when it comes to protecting sensitive data, let's try not to go with that approach. Moving on, step 3. Implementing the protection solves the dilemma of what to control and how to control. In layman terms, now that you know you want to propose and you visualized it, where are you going to buy the fireworks? Where are you going to buy the ring? Give me the numbers breakdown. Step 4, policy optimization. This is key to ensuring smooth and streamlined execution of your cloud security. In layman terms, this is what my mother is best at doing: finding good deals at Costco. Find the best deals for your proposal so you aren't just throwing money out the door. Optimize the processes and make it enjoyable for everyone so that you aren't running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Alas, step 5, continuous monitoring. Any project needs continuous optimization and continuous improvement to be the best. If you see any security attacks in their environment, you can go back to stage 3 or stage 4 to refine your policy. Or maybe you have some new applications coming online. In essence, think of this as the feedback loop. In layman terms, tie off any loose ends, check it over and over again, and before you know it, you've got yourself an amazing proposal. I hope this explains the 5 steps of implementing microsegmentation simply. If not, hey, I just provided some free proposal tips, so be thankful. We're going to transition into a deep dive of each step. Step 1, asset discovery. Come on now. How are you going to protect your assets if you don't even know what assets you have? Micro-segmentation is different from traditional network security in that all micro-segmentation security strategies will be configured around business assets. Security administrators need to communicate fully with business administrators, sort out business assets in detail, and try their best to avoid omissions and repetitions. Usually, in a business environment, business assets are identified by virtual machine names, which involves the synchronization and constant updating of asset information from the business platform to the micro-segmentation platform. The synchronization of asset information from the business platform to the micro-segmentation platform is to make sure both platforms have consistent data in real time and that they can be either updated easily, automatically, or seamlessly. CloudHive will be able to do both, and it will sync all data over from the cloud management platform, for example, like vCenter. In layman terms, if you are operating in the delivery room, you definitely need the name on the name tag of the baby to match the name on the birth certificate, which also matches the name you provided for the mother. Imagine if you didn't update these or if you get them crisscrossed. Good luck explaining to a mother who just finished labor and explaining what happened to her missing baby. Smooth transition. Let's talk about the importance of grouping assets from a security perspective. Under normal circumstances, a micro-segmentation platform directly configures security policies based on the business assets synchronized from the business platform. However, the logic of security management may occasionally differ from the logic of business management. For example, maybe security management needs to configure and use the same web application firewall strategy for web services, but business management doesn't necessarily need to group the web services in the same way. Maybe you're even trying to group based on your own unique standards, which would also be possible through CloudHive's interface. In layman terms, say you have a list of phone numbers, names, and email addresses. Someone using the list to call will likely group by area code, whereas someone using the list for a roll call will group by the first name or the last name. Step 2, application or service modeling. Upon completion of asset discovery, application and service modeling is a crucial step where we decide which business assets require micro-segmentation. When it comes to network-based micro-segmentation solutions, we must define business assets by whether or not they require protection and what type of protection they require, without disrupting the flow of business operations. We can then group assets by which ones require traffic monitoring software. The micro-segmentation solution must synergize with the flow of business to understand where protection is needed. In layman terms, say we are installing security cameras inside a house. We'll want to install them in places where there's actually traffic, so we'll get better visibility and thereby better protection. If we just install security cameras in the bathroom stalls, the only thing we'll be getting is a lawsuit. Point is, the installation of such security cameras should not disrupt the flow of business. If anything, they should work together in conjunction with the flow of business. With CloudHive's insight, you'll be able to show precisely each application's usage and how each VM is related to each other. CloudHive displays effectively a visual manifestation of all the data center's ingress and egress traffic. Moving on to step 3, applying protection. By sorting out the assets and sorting out asset business models, administrators can thoroughly understand the traffic of the business environment from its roots to where it goes, to what is considered legal and illegal. From there are 2 ways to apply protection, known as blacklisting policies and whitelisting policies. Under the blacklist approach, the default policy is to allow all traffic. But An administrator will configure policies to determine what is considered illegal traffic and what to do with the illegal traffic. In the whitelist mode, the default policy is to block all traffic, but an administrator will configure policies to determine what is considered legal traffic and how legal traffic will proceed. The concept of whitelist mode is akin to the concept of zero trust network access, ZTNA, and as such, it's often implemented in more mature systems. To apply this in practice, we can look at the way policy configurations work within CloudHive, which is incredibly flexible. You can apply stringent rules where external networks can only speak with database and not vice versa. Or you can establish mutual trust and enable all communications between the three. Or simply just allow database and application to communicate. Pretty much, if you can imagine the communication stream, it can be done. Our proprietary Stone OS has rich policy configuration and can offer a comprehensive set of layer 2 to layer 7 protection, such as IPS, application control, antivirus, URL filtering, and others. Step 4, policy optimization. If, say, the administrator has whitelisted port 80 for web business configuration security policies, we have to keep in mind, port 80 isn't just being used for HTTP services. In addition to legal traffic, some traffic coming through 80 could include threats, such as cross-site scripting, injections, and other attacks, which would require micro-segmentation to protect against. To optimize policies, it is important for the security administrator to establish a separate security group based on the application's attributes for web service virtual machines on the micro-segmentation platform, and then configure security policies for that application attribute-based security group. Such groups can be based on logic and doesn't have to be manually created each time. For example, for all virtual machines that include the word web, the administrator can configure a unified WAF policy that will cover any asset whose name includes the word web. To dive deeper into an example of policy optimization, let's say we are trying to make sure all HTTP and HTTPS services within a security group can be run. If that is what we are looking for, it may be better to whitelist HTTP or HTTPS rather than whitelist the ports, because the ports could potentially be used for more than just HTTP or HTTPS protocols. By creating such a protocol, though, this would also mean HTTP and HTTPS will be allowed on other ports, and port 80 plus port 443 will be used for nothing except HTTP or HTTPS. Depending on what type of operation you are running, this could potentially be more efficient. This is why policy optimization should occur between business and security management to ensure business operations run smoothly, but security is also present and effective. Now to a very crucial step that'll continue the endless feedback loop that we have mentioned many times up till now. Because, well, business is never static, right? There could always be new threats or new machines introduced that require you to revisit earlier steps. This step we like to call continuous monitoring. Attack behavior is monitored and displayed by what we lovingly call CloudHive Insight. As such, the detailed attack log can display all traffic on a granular level, and you can determine what type of traffic is malicious by the red arrows and what type of traffic is considered regular, which would be the blue arrows. Just because something is flagged or something is blocked does not necessarily mean it is always supposed to be acted on in that way. The policy may need some tweaks to perfect itself. This is comparable to the IPS versus IDS Why do we sometimes only want to use the detection? Because we may not necessarily want to act on what is flagged. In layman terms, if I have a policy saying all people with long hair are female by designation, that is going to fail miserably, especially during COVID, since many of us males started growing mullets and man buns. By the way, when I mentioned being able to display traffic on a granular level, I meant it can even display intra-VM communications, and will show you exactly how data flows from one place to the next. By continuously monitoring and taking advantage of CloudHive's learning phase, you can continue to perfect CloudHive's implementation of micro-segmentation within your business environment. I've been yapping about micro-segmentation solutions for a while now. Let me give you a high-level rundown of Hillstone CloudHive, which is our micro-segmentation solution. Because of all the micro-segmentation practices we've outlined above, we created a solution that can cover all of these basic steps. Our product highlights include unparalleled live traffic visibility, especially through CloudHive Insight, a comprehensive layer 2 to layer 7 set of protection for the virtualized workload, the ability to effortlessly scale through active orchestration, and the ability to be a cost-efficient and effective solution. Additionally, to make matters even easier, CloudHive syncs beautifully with our X series and our Cloud Edge. CloudHive synergizes with our X series firewall because not 100% of the workforce has migrated to the cloud yet. Plenty of workloads and workflows still run through traditional data centers. So our X series firewall for data centers is perfect for that. As for Cloud Edge, it's a great sync because Cloud Edge provides north-south traffic protection in the cloud, whereas CloudHive will be able to provide east-west traffic protection, thereby providing you with omnidirectional coverage. With the most recent update of CloudHive to CloudHive version 2.8, it can now even be deployed at either layer 2 or layer 3. Enough talk. Here's a demo of CloudHive's interface. Hillstone's CloudHive is our micro-segmentation solution. It helps our customers understand what in tarnation is happening in their virtual data centers. Additionally, CloudHive can manage and control the traffic in between VMs in the data center, as well as VMs in the outside world. This is a CloudHive dashboard. As you can see, it is very similar to the Hillstone Next-Gen Firewall interface. So for returning customers, familiarizing yourself with it will be a piece of cake. On the dashboard, you see the overall threats, traffic, top VMs, and top services. On the right side, you can see CloudHive's components in relation to VM's vCenter. We'll actually synchronize all objects from vCenter. And in fact, here's the list. We can see the host it's on, number of interfaces, service group post address, their status, etc. We can also expand for more detailed information, such as which network they're on, the IP address, MAC address, and others. Even from here, it can get granular. Next, we can see the network information that's synced over from the vCenter. This is the host information we synced over, such as number of CPU, in addition to the IP info, and others. This is a service VM, aka a VM that's deployed by Hillstone CloudHive and is responsible for running security protocols and providing security services. You can see the full list here. When you go to the Task tab, you'll see a list of tasks. Under Group Management, these are either synced over groups or groups that you can create on your own. Under Service Profile, CloudHive inside the vCenter is considered a service. As such, this is a service profile for CloudHive. After CloudHive is installed, we have access to one of its most innovative features called Insight. Within CloudHive Insight, no, not from Hydra, we display all network groups inside the vCenter. The arrows provide a visual representation of traffic interactions between networks. Red lines denote the networks that have threats. Other lines represent legal or normal traffic. By clicking on the application, you'll see the application usage. By clicking on threats, you'll be able to spot current threats. You can adjust the time period of interest. By double-clicking on a network, you are able to expand the network, see what VMs are within that network, and examine a more granular log of interactions between each virtual machine. Again, the red lines represent threats. By clicking in, you'll be able to spot the threats currently existing between the VMs. On the application side, you can see the type of application interactions taking place between the two VMs and the kind of application usage taking place. High-level speaking, this will provide a holistic view of interactions between the VMs, be it within an environment, east-west, or with the outside world, north-south. Another feature we have is called Service Performance Monitoring, or SPM for short. Here, we show you the service status from a user to the VM inside and outside the data center. We will show you the service performance, including delays, jitters, and others. Main thing is the abnormalities will be flagged. Moreover, SPM will show you the service chain if you have multiple requests hitting multiple servers and multiple VMs. Furthermore, we have a server that can show you the details of each VM, what cloud application they use, what kind of traffic is present, and the type of concurrent session they have. Currently, we are viewing by VM. We can also view by application, which will show you the application usage within the virtual environment. URL hit will show you what kind of URLs you are hitting and what category they are nested under. Threat section will show, yep, you guessed it, threats, filtered by time period and category, adjusted by the time period of your choice. Overall, CloudHive provides granular visibility of not only the traffic application usage, but also clearly displays threats within your virtualized data center. Pretty much anything you want to see is within here. Here, we can additionally configure policies between VMs. By going into list source, we can see a list of all the VMs associated with our address book. Here, we can configure the policy pair of VMs and implement service-based control or application-based control. Also, we can turn on antivirus, IPS service, or URL filtering services between the VMs. It's very much like the next-gen firewall features. I hope that demo was helpful in showcasing CloudHive's user interface. Recently, we actually released a new CloudHive update, so we are now operating with CloudHive version 2.8. Some of the main feature updates are the ability to be deployed in not just layer 2, but layer 3 as well. The main problem we're trying to solve here is initially, by only supporting deployment within layer 2, we couldn't adjust for different network designs, and we also couldn't scale as easily. Next, version 2.8 is capable of connecting to vCenter, either through the register mode, user credentials are not required, or authentication mode, which is the standard login procedure. Originally, if vCenter is reinstalled due to malfunctions or failures, the reinstallation of CloudHive would also be necessary, which was time-consuming and inefficient. Instead, CloudHive can now reinstall itself, utilizing a few simple commands. The final adjustment we added is to help with optimizing the process for configuring trusted hosts. Initially, trusted hosts could only be configured over Web UI. If Web UI couldn't be accessed, or trusted hosts were accidentally misconfigured, login would be disabled. To help with this problem, we've enabled configuration via command line interface, meaning we can configure a whole range of IP addresses to be trusted or untrusted, and we can do it easily. On top of that, we've also established a default policy to allow all hosts in the vSOM to be trusted. Though this may be a handy policy, we do advise users to adjust or delete this default policy manually after the list of trusted hosts have been configured and double-checked. In conclusion, I like to recap with a quote I personally find to be quite applicable with respect to cybersecurity. A tool is only as powerful as its wielder. With CloudHive, we've created a tool that's easy to understand and easy to wield effectively. As you may have noted from the description of the 5 steps to implementing an effective micro-segmentation solution, lots of communication is needed between security management and business management. Here at Hillstone Networks, we hope you'll select us, not simply as a vendor, but as a partner that'll always have your needs, wishes, and best interests set at the forefront of our priorities. We believe seamless communication is key. Soft flex. This is also why Gartner has given us their vote of confidence and seal of approval. By simplifying cybersecurity and creating tools that can be wielded by anyone, we are confident we can help you see, understand, and act. Thank you for your time